Actually, we're having another fireside chat, which is play a part together, not just a campaign. It's a lifestyle with Sid Sharma from Agora and Selcuk Atli from Bunch. So please welcome them first. The other fireside chat is after this one. So thank you.
Great. Yep. Hey, Selcuk, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for joining me on this fireside chat. Excited to have you and speak a little bit about, the global trends that we're seeing in
Sure.
terms of, in the gaming industry, during this pandemic and then post-pandemic and exploring, are these trends here to stay? This, whole play together apart campaign, is it
Mhm.
really just a campaign or is it a future trend that we see in the industry staying longer term? So again, thank you for joining me, and let's get started.
Sounds good.
Cool. Can you see my screen? Cool. Yep. So again, we're here to talk to you guys today about the future trends in the gaming industry, really around real-time engagement. We're seeing several different gaming studios, game developers looking to add real-time engagement to their games for their communities to engage online. So Solchuk, before we dive in, you want to explain a little bit about yourself and what Bunch is doing. Really great stuff that you guys are pulling off there. So I'd like for
Sure.
the
Uh,
audience to hear.
so hey everyone, I'm Selcuk, co-founder and CEO of Bunch. So Bunch is a party app for multiplayer games. It lets you group video chat with your friends and push a button to jump into any of your favorite multiplayer games. It's a way to play your favorite games as if you're sitting next to each other when you're physically apart. So that's what we do.
Cool. Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm a huge personal user of Bunch. I play with it, play with my friends all the time on Bunch. So, if you haven't checked it out already, go ahead and download it on the App Store and get playing with your friends. So as many of you may have heard, right, Play Together Apart was, really one of the biggest campaigns put together by the World Health Organizations, as well as several large gaming studios, really to encourage people during this pandemic to stay socially connected while socially distancing from each other, right? They wanted to make sure that everyone is still being able to have that social interaction because that's one of the most important things and behaviors that you see and do as a human. But really, I think what it promoted is kind of future growth in the industry, whereas voice chat was, the primary driver for multiplayer strategic games. But now you're seeing many social games and hyper casual games looking to add voice and video chat to allow their gaming community to play around and talk to each other. So at Agora, we saw a large increase of game titles, game studios join together and add real-time voice and video chat as well as live streaming to their applications. And this trend was already really kicking off from the starting, from even before the pandemic. But I think really what happened was the pandemic was like the key catalyst that really changed how people were viewing real-time engagement as actually a tool set or something that's ubiquitous across several game titles and necessary to provide their game studios. So we're curious to hear from you, Solchik. What are the trends that you're seeing with your audience in during COVID?
So one thing that we saw that was interesting is that our audience grew quite significantly. So since the beginning of March, our monthly active users grew by about 50 times, like 50. And not only that, but our audience, I would say, expanded from a more hardcore Gen Z gamer audience to more mainstream millennial and more female audience. That was, I think, more interesting. That is, so with the kind of significant audience expansion, our user base used to be, I would say, slightly more male. Now it's actually 60% female, which is, I think, interesting as well.
Awesome. And do you think really the growth of Bunch during this pandemic phase was attributed to that video component and that real social layer that you guys provide on top of the gaming experience? How big of a part did that have to play?
I think video is definitely one. But I basically look at it as like larger, like how can you kind of simulate the experience of being together anytime, anywhere? And like I think video is a significant aspect of it. But another aspect of it is basically, can you create a way that makes it very, very easy to get together? Like, can you enable more spontaneous interactions?
Totally.
So that I think is like another aspect of it as well.
Totally. And really, even, even though some of the pandemic restrictions are slowing down in some of the countries, at least at Agora, we're seeing still many game studios and developers are really trying to, continue adding RTE services. The interest is still very high. Is this a trend that you're seeing with your, end users? Is growth slowing down, or you're still seeing many, users jumping on and still being able to converse with each other, even though the restrictions are easing up?
I mean, we're still growing, and engagement is not that different. So the thing that we notice is basically engagement patterns have been kind of similar before and during COVID-19. So it's more like a top of the funnel thing where, like, I think what happens is when people, unfortunately, have to isolate from their friends, they first start seeking like, oh, how can I connect with my friends? And they search for video chat solutions like Zoom and others. And when they realize just like video chatting with your friends just by itself is kind of boring and repetitive, a natural use case we started seeing them looking for is the ability to play games together while you're video chatting. And I think with the initial period of the restrictions, the top of the funnel was much larger, right? Because you basically, all of a sudden it becomes like a painkiller for a lot of people. But I think with that, we've also had a behavioral change where a lot of people didn't realize that this kind of thing was not really possible to do on their phones, and they were not really looking for it. I think they come to a realization like, oh, this is a great way to spend my Friday night with my friends, because I didn't drive to my friend's house all the way to do XYZ. We could play a game of Monopoly every Friday just on our phones. So that's, I think, behavioral change that's happening. That's causing like, so I think where we're going to really see is basically not as rapid growth as March or May, but basically somewhere in between.
Totally. Yeah, no, it makes sense, right? I can stay in my pajamas on a Friday night, but still be able to, converse with my friends and play video games with them. So, but that's a good point, right? Really talking about the social behavior shift, right? We're seeing kind of shifts in every single aspect of our life, right? From companies that offering fully remote for life to virtual fitness solutions thriving. I think this pandemic really shifted the human mindset, and you see that in every aspect of our life. So I think that trend will, kind of resonate longer term, and people will kind of have a shifted mindset even post pandemic. And obviously I don't think it'll be fully online or a new normal as they call it, but really it will be a semi new normal where, online Zoom calls or online, video chat during gaming, for example, with Bunch, right? Like those type of trends, I think will continue to stay because you invest so much time and effort into it. And it's just something that is part of human nature at this point. So what are your thoughts? Like, is this play together apart? Is this a campaign? Is this a fad, or is this the future? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think it's completely new, right? So like we're not like this behavior didn't start with COVID, but it catalyzed with COVID, right? So the way I look at it is like there's a reason why games like Roblox and Minecraft and others have persisted for a very long time, right? It used to be that we would go to the store, buy a game, play it for a week, throw it away, buy another game, play it for a week, throw it away. And like we started having these games that like have really stayed for a long time. And I think the reason for that is you play with other people, you play with the community, and you play with your friends. So I think the aspect of playing the game with your friends, making it more fun and retaining for a longer time, it existed. But I think it existed in a more mid to hardcore gamer community. I think what we've really done is like we're extending the gamer community to non-gamers who are looking at games as a way to spend social time with their friends. And, I think that's kind of causing the growth. in this behavior, but it's not really a new behavior. It's just basically happening at a much larger scale, and it's causing new habits formed.
No, totally, right? I mean, I remember being in middle school playing LAN parties, and it puts me back to the good old days, right? So I think it's definitely something that's been around, but it's just much more accessible at this point compared to going to somebody's house, bringing your controllers, and you can have all those interactions online. So it's great to see that.
I mean,
that
like
trend is
the Gen Z audience is already doing that, right?
Yeah.
So if basically have kids or nephews or anything, just know that they're on like Roblox and Minecraft and Fortnite on their phones all the time.
Yeah.
And that they do this way to communicate with their friends. We're just seeing that behavior expanding to a more mainstream audience.
Yeah, no, totally. So in that aspect, right, there's several different routes to kind of enable that communication, whether you embed or have a standalone app, something like Discord, right? So how do you see that trend? Like, do you see, since you guys are, it seems like, it's an embedding overlay on top of the game itself. So how do you see standalone apps versus embedding the solution for real-time engagement directly into your game? What are the trade-offs on either?
Right. And like our position is that we're basically trying to be best of both worlds, right? Because ultimately the user shouldn't have to choose, right? Because the way I think, to set it in the context, we believe there's like three types of gamer connections. One, that's like you're connecting with your real world friends to play a game together. The second is you're basically building an ephemeral connection with the person that you're playing with, but you don't really care about that person, right? Maybe you care about their skill level, so call that like an ephemeral connection. And a third one would be basically building deeper connections with the people that you game with. Like a good example would be like the Roblox friends that people make while they're playing together, right? Probably a lot of them some of them are from school, and some other are people that you're meeting online. I think for the ephemeral connections, the communication is more for coordination, right? You're playing PUBG with a person, and you want to communicate or react and kind of play the game better. In that situation, I think an embedded voice chat solution works a lot better. I doubt that people really want to video chat in that instance, because like it's like a random stranger. I just want to play PUBG with you, right? The other case is, I think video chat becomes more interesting for use cases where you're basically playing with your real world friends or game friends, where these people are your friends and you care about these people and you want to play with them over and over again. I think the challenge with an only embedded solution with those two scenarios is that it's not persistent, right? So before the game session begins and after the game session ends, you can't really communicate with those people, and that's why solutions like Bunch and Discord work, where like you get to communicate with people before and after the game as well. But again, having a standalone application that's not part of the game isn't very efficient. It's more resource constraining. It's like a black box to the game, right? So it doesn't really work with the game. So I think our approach with that is like, can you embed this thing as well, such that it shouldn't matter to the player if they're starting the party from inside the game or from inside Bunch. So we're basically trying to create a situation where it's a single social layer, where it works exactly the same way if it's embedded, or exactly the same way if it's a standalone application.
Yep, no, exactly. So like you said, the best of both worlds, right? You see it's kind of a halfway route for both solutions. So
Right.
what is your offering for developers if you have one? Selcuk, curious to know.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So we have a developer platform. So basically Bunch app supports third-party multiplayer games, enables people to party up and jump into those games to play together. So developers can use our platform to optimize their games, such that, for example, if you and I want to play together, we push a button on Bunch and we immediately transport it into the same game session together. And then we also have a developer platform that game developers can integrate, such that their players can start a Bunch party without even leaving their game. And that works embedded inside the game, and it runs on the exact same social graph, so they get to leverage their audience cross-game. So if developers are interested in leading on this technology, they can reach out to us on our website, Bunch.live. And the nice thing is a lot of that is powered by the Agora technology, so they get to use the awesome network that you guys are building working with us.
Well, appreciate that. Yes, I think if any developers are interested, feel free to find myself, Solchik, on the Discord channel. Reach out if you have any questions. And I think that's it for our fireside chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Zoom, and we'd be happy to give our thoughts on where the industry is heading post COVID.
Cool. I think we got some questions.
Oops. Hey guys. Yes, we actually do. How do you monetize Bunch? That's first question.
Right. We currently do not monetize. Our focus on more on delivering more gaming content to our users and basically growing the network as fast as possible. However, we will be basically exploring different avenues for monetization, similar to what other platforms like Discord and Twitch and others do, which is enabling player-side monetization through micro expressions and programs like that. And one of the things that's interesting about Bunch is that it's a great way to discover new games, right? You see what your friends are playing, you can discover games in real time, where you party with them. One of the really interesting things is if Sid and I are playing a Bunch party and he wants to play Monopoly, the Bunch application assists with an automated download of that game while we're directly video chatting. So it's like a killer way to drive app downloads. So a lot of that stuff, we can basically enable the games to run native advertising to boost their exposure. But a lot of those things we're not exploring yet, as our goal is driving more and more network growth in the short term.
This looks like it's more of a comment than a question. They're saying Agora pricing is higher than ARPDAO in tier 3 to 4 geos.
Yes, so I can't speak to the ARPDAO numbers, but we tend to work with several tier 3, tier 4 countries and really emerging countries, as we call them, and try to find a price point that works, right? We understand that monetization in some areas is harder than others. So if you have any pricing related questions, please don't hesitate to contact us through the contact sales tool at www.agora.io, and we'll be happy to work with you. We understand there's complexities when it comes to monetizing games, and it gets harder and harder each day. So yeah, more than happy to work with you on the pricing side of things and work with you on a model that is efficient and best for your company.
Great. Well, next question is, do you have data on how the Play Together initiative is influencing mental health stability during COVID?
That's a good question. I don't have much data around it. I just have been reading around it because many of the companies that are coming to Agora to enable this video and voice chat have mentioned that this is really one of the key drivers, right? As you see in the game store or in the app store, within the gaming space, you're seeing a lot more downloads from the games that are coming with voice or video chat, right? So just in those general trends aspect, you'll see a lot of the heavier download sets are coming from these voice and video enabled applications. More than happy to speak about that when I have more data around that, but it's definitely, this campaign was a success in terms of driving those downloads for those type of games. Solchik, any comments on that?
I mean, I don't have any data to offer, but like one qualitative piece of data is like, for example, when we're doing user interviews, in an instance, we saw that like a psychologist that was counseling teenagers was using Bunch, and noticed that it basically is making the counseling sessions a lot more effective because they not only kind of do the counseling session or video chat, but they get to play games while video chatting, which basically allows the teenagers that they're counseling to focus a lot more, and was recommending the solution to a whole bunch of other counselors. That was like a point that we saw in some of the user interviews.
Great. Well, next question. Doesn't video chat deviate players from during the game session?
I think if I may take this one, I think it really depends on the context that the user is trying to play, right? So if I want to just hang out by myself and play PUBG or Fortnite by myself, probably, right? Because I just want to basically play a few rounds But if the goal is to party up with my real world friends, or like the social graph that I really care a lot more about, we find that video chat basically extends the session time, because you get to connect more meaningfully with the friends. And I think it also is a question of user experience. Like the way we basically handle that is like you could just like flick the video chat off the screen and bring it back anytime you want. So you can basically design it or implement it in a way that really doesn't kind of obstruct the game view.
All right, next question. Do you believe it is possible to fully recreate the live experience in a digital environment, and will this be the new norm?
Yeah, I can start, and Selcuk, if you have any other comments, you can add as well. But I think recreating really the, real world life is the next step, right? I like to reference Ready Player One as my ideal kind of future of technology, right? Replicating something that that allows you to experience real world experiences in the virtual world, but even better, right? So you see this across, not just with gaming, but you see this across several different areas with, let's say education. The teacher can monitor how, how interested the students are with sentiment analysis, for example, or going to your virtual office in a metaverse space, right? And being able to jump from office to office. So I think recreating the real world experiences is the easy part. And I think with technologies like RTE, real-time engagement allows you to make the virtual world even better and even more kind of in tune for your proper experience. I think you have much more control over that rather than when you're in the real world.
And we also have a comment. It's there. Somebody wrote, "Playing Scrabble from Bunch was confusing. It did not start the video chat."
Right. So I'm assuming the audience member was trying this on an iPhone, not on an Android device. So it's basically a limitation of iOS operating system where when you're running an application on the background, it actually doesn't allow us to project video chat. If you use it on an Android device, you basically see that we have like the cool bunch overlay. So it's a limitation on the operating system. With iOS 14, Apple is moving in that direction where they're enabling picture-in-picture, and I'm hoping on iOS 15 they're going to enable camera access while our app is running in the background. But developers can also implement the Bunch SDK to enable video chat as well. So if there's anyone at Scopely, hi guys. If you implement our SDK, it will not be confusing.
They did confirm that they were using it on their iPhone.
Right, exactly. So if the developer uses our SDK, it works so much better. And on an Android device, it's a more permissible environment, so it works better.
And another question, what do you think are the key factors to build the emotional connection when it comes to the digital environment?
I'll basically take a crack at it, and I'd love to hear Sid's thoughts on this as well. I think there's a few things. One, I think safety is really important, right? So privacy and safety, because really kind of the type of communication and the mode of communication really depends on the context of communication, right? How many people are we with? Do people know each other? Is it a private party, or is it just like strangers playing together? So a lot of that really defines, I think, the user experience. And then another thing is, I think the key to recreating a great experience is just beyond video chat as well, right? Like, can we do things like taking clips of the most favorite moments of gameplay? Can we send reactions and gifs? Like, what are the things that kind of create excitement in an environment? I think those are the things that expand beyond just video chat and requires like a social layer that enables this kind of experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I think really one of the key points you touched on is, safety. And really I look at that as, how comfortable are you, right? Can you be yourself in the video chat? And I think really add-ons, extensions on top of that video chat really help, right? Like when you don't know anyone or when you don't know someone, that's why the metaverse space is really taking off, right? Like games like Roblox and, I'm Viewed, they're really taking off in especially in this pandemic. And it's really because you can be yourself without having to show yourself, if that makes sense, right? You can put up a 3D avatar that renders your face, your facial features in some games, and allows you to really be yourself without any hesitation. So I think technologies like face filters or voice changers that help mask your true identity but allow you to be yourself is really one of the key drivers of success for video chat as well.
Great. Somebody just posted a message saying the links are not working. We'll deal with the tech.
I will check those out and get back to you, or probably I won't get back to you, but we'll be fixing them.
Yeah. So last question, as we wrap up here, how do you balance, quote, being yourself and the possibility of a user to create a full new character? Is there a way to avoid harassment?
Yeah, so going back to my previous point, right? I think if game developers allow technologies like face filters, 3D virtual avatar renderings, those type of technologies, right? Voice changers, you're still allowed to be yourself and converse in the way. Actually, you may be yourself more than ever in some aspects, right? Because you're behind kind of a wall. So I think that is really the driver. Regarding harassment, right, Agora also has several different partner solutions alongside the engagement aspect of the face filters, 3D avatars. We also have a lot of pre-integrated partner solutions that offer content moderation, right? So if you say anything that you're not supposed to say, or you do anything or show anything that you're not supposed to say, we can catch that on the fly. So I think that's really important, especially thinking about all the COPPA restrictions in the gaming space. So if you're interested in learning more, please do reach out to me at sid.sharma@agora.io, and more than happy to explain further how those technologies work in real time.
Excellent. So with that, we are going to wrap up the session. So thank you again, Sid and Selcuk, so much. Thank you, Agora, for being a diamond sponsor of Pocket Gamer Connects Helsinki this year. And again, for a reminder to the attendees, if you want to carry on the conversation, please head over to the Discord for the event, where you can ask anything you want for the entire rest of the day and into the night. So thank you again.